January 6, 2026, and we're going to go over the game plan for Wednesday, January 7th trading session. I've got 3 goals for you guys today in this lesson. The first is to go over the broad market setups and some of my favorite setups for the trading day tomorrow. The second lesson is going to be on my favorite day trading setup and how I was able to capitalize on it today and take a profitable trade. And the third is going to be to break down the economic calendar so we're well prepared for future sessions for the rest of the week. Let's start with number 3 and just break it down because I'm already here. Forex Factory, we've got lots of red folder news coming up Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You guys can see there's multiple unemployment that's going to drop pre-market on Wednesday and Thursday. CPI, not this week. Unemployment, non-farm employment change, average hourly earnings. These are all big, high-impact news events. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we've got no shortage of high-impact events. And just keep these on the radar so you make sure that you're not in a trade during one of these events when they drop. They'll be volatile. I like to sit them out and then wait for data to come in after they drop. So you look at tomorrow, we've got 7:15 pre-market, red folder news, and then we've got 9 a.m. That's Central Standard, so that's 30 minutes after market open. We've got 2 more red folder news there at 9 a.m. So tomorrow, expect some high-impact news. That's at the forefront of our attention there so that we're well prepared. Now let's get into the charts, and we'll look at SPY and QQQ like we always do. The broad market is strong right now. Bulls look like they want to run this thing to all-time highs. And out of this consolidation, it wouldn't be surprised if that is what was to take place. So when I see the broad market forming a tight range like this, it just gives me more confidence to go in and position myself in some of these other names that we talk about. It doesn't mean I'm trading the broad market. It just means I'm gauging it for my confidence as far as the rest of the market goes and the strength of the rest of the names that are out there. So SPY and QQQ, nothing to trip out over. SPY is actually in relative strength here. It pushed into all-time highs today while the tech sector lags just a little bit. So nothing to trip out over. Those are really clean setups here at the start of the year, and I'll be looking to capitalize on that action. Here, real quick, let's just touch on SNDK. Just a massive move today. 50-point blow-off move, just like we talked about yesterday before the market opened. We said if it gapped up to 290, this thing would draw a lot of attention. And that's exactly what it did. You got people coming in here, they're short. They think just because it's ran 700% this year means it's a good idea to come in and short or take a position here on to the downside. What do you think happened to those people today? Especially if they over leveraged, didn't manage their risk. Some of those guys, some of those people, I'm telling you, they blew their accounts. They blew their equity. They blew equity for other people. And that is what can happen when you come in here and you've got this gunslinger mentality. You over leverage and you don't think about what can happen if you're wrong. So always think about what can happen if you're wrong, because this trade knocked some people out today. I'm telling you, I know it did. Impressive move, just a pattern to study there. A very strong flex at the all-time highs, and then just an explosion out of today. So maybe you traded it, maybe you made some money on it, great. Maybe you didn't, maybe you missed it altogether. That's all right too. Just keep this pattern in mind. It'll show up again, and save it in your memory bank for when it does. Moving on, and what do we want to see from here? I mean, it could blow off again tomorrow. It could have a continuation. There's no, looking at this run from back here in the middle of the summer, it wouldn't be surprised to see it take another leg similar to that. Do I have any interest in trading it from here? No. The risk to reward is pretty much gone as far as that's concerned. But if we get some consolidation, we get a pullback maybe halfway through yesterday's candle, or we get a pullback to 300, then it could be a position worth looking into. But as far as SNDK is concerned, this is great study material. It's a great lesson to learn, but the trade is pretty much developed and taken place here. Moving on, the other one we talked about was ASTS. Another strong day today in the way of about a 6-7% move in the underlying. 3 really strong days off of that 50 MA from $70. From $70 all the way up to almost $100. The trade here is not done. I want to see some sideways from 97 down to like 85, get some contraction, get a little pullback, and give other people a chance to get some skin in the game here. I will be one of those other people. Today I wasn't able to position myself for a swing trade, but I did take a day trade on this, and I want to show you guys the day trade I took. So I talk about it in some of my other videos. It's called a 15-minute opening range breakout. And what I do here, especially on names that I'm bullish on or I want to position on, I don't chase them. I don't trade the open. I don't just buy, right? But I watch those first 3 5-minute candles develop. Or the first 15-minute candle develops, okay? And I draw a line on the bottom and the top of it. Okay, the 15-minute opening range breakout is what I map out. And I wait for price to return and react, okay? And that's exactly what it did today. Right around 11:30, you can see in the middle of the afternoon, it came back down and retested that 15-minute original breakout. And that's where I'm able to grab a position and get my risk to reward. What I do is I target the highs on something like this, and I put my risk down, giving me something like a 3-to-1 risk to return. So I'd take a trade similar to this. Target the highs, continuation back to the high of day, risk below this, the low of this candle right here. So it gives me a trade like that right there. And it allows me to not gamble when the market opens, but it allows me to kind of wait till the market finds its footing and then get a very clear risk to return on a name that I want a piece of and I want to get in on. So that's exactly what I did on ASTS here today, to take a pretty solid day trade for continuation. And that's a great way to trade. It's a patience-based system. You don't have to come in and trade the volatility of the opening bell. You can wait for things to kind of cool off, see how things take shape before you come in with your position. So that's how I day traded it today. I'm still bullish on ASTS. Over 100, I really think we could see a blow-off move here in the way of a 15 to 20% to the upside. Just given the nature of this theme right now, this aerospace theme, and the look of this chart. This chart looks like it's very powerful, very strong. So we're keeping tabs on it. Anything digesting between these 3 candles, extremely healthy. And I want a piece of that between 97 and 80. Moving on, now ALAB. This is one I've been keeping tabs on. Today's candle really drew some attention from me. And look at the wick, okay? The wick on that candle as we form back up into that 50 MA. This is what my strategy really picks up on, okay? And what I'm talking about here is when I show you guys my checklist here on a solid 50 MA consolidation pattern checklist, the first thing I'm looking for here is price to pull back or drift sideways. And I want you to pull it up while I'm here. Okay, so price pulls back or drifts sideways into the 50-day moving average. I want to see multiple touches or retests of that moving average without breaking down. And the third one, very important, I want to see that moving average act like a magnet and keep the price compressed. Anytime it looks like it's falling away from that moving average, it snaps back, and it snaps back quickly. It's exactly what we saw today out of NBIS. When it looked like this thing was selling off and the bottom was falling out of it, boom, it snapped right back like a magnet to that blue line. And so it also kept the shape, the consistent higher lows. We've got these consistent higher highs as well. It checks boxes for me, enough boxes to get a position here and put my risk below this candle of strength here, below 140, 142. Start to find my way out of this, but above 180, this has an explosive look to it. Above 180, I could see a move to 200 take place pretty quick. So I want a position in ALAB. I think it could tighten up even more. It could contract between the last 2 days of range, but today's reaction told me that it's probably closer to being ready than I originally thought. So I like that look of ALAB. It's a hot theme, and it's got some pretty impressive volume too to go along with it. Moving along to NBIS, another data center name, another hot theme, good looking chart, above 100. You know, you've got two things going for you. The psychological level of 100 being that's going to draw a lot of attention, but two, there's a lot of room in the chart here above 100 for us to see something speed up around 120. And that's a trade I'll be very interested in from a day trade standpoint. Kind of like I just talked to you guys about that 15-minute opening range breakout. I'd look for something like that. I'd look for some consolidation within the day to grab this thing. But strong candle today, impressive volume. It's coming up on a key inflection point in the chart, and you guys can see it here. Above, I guess it's closer to 105. Zoom in for you. Yeah, so your key level is 105. Above 105, we've got space up to 118, 120 really. It's a good looking chart. It's a strong shape taking place here as we put in these higher lows and work our way up to that inflection. So ALAB, NBIS, good looking charts, good risk to return, and these are quick movers. These are names that can move very quick. They're names that I can play with options. I just have to be very mindful of my risk, because you're going to pay the bid-ask spread. You're going to pay a spread here on these names. You're paying to trade the volatility, right? A stock that moves 6, 7, 8 points, 10 points in a day. They're going to make you pay to get skin in the game on a name like that. And I'm fine doing it with this type of range, with this type of shape taking place. So moving on now, we're going to get in some a little bit smaller caps, smaller capitalization here on the market cap. And these are ones that you don't have to pay as big of a spread on. You don't have to pay as much of a premium just to get in the game. Or you can just take common shares and just, be just as well off here on these names. They're a lot cheaper. You're talking about 14 and 25 bucks, and then I'm even going to show you guys a $4 stock here that I'm interested in. The first is DJT. So this is a name you guys are probably pretty familiar with. It's a big retail involvement name. It's DJT, it's Trump Media and Technology, and the shape taking place here is noteworthy. The last 2 weeks or so, we've seen a change in character here in this name, with strong volume injection, a pullback to the 50 EMA, and then a little bit of continuation. This, I'm playing a little bit off the theme. I feel like there's a theme here that's developing, emerging, more at least than we've seen in the last 6 months out of this type of theme. And we all know how these things can change at any time with this guy, Trump. So this is a chart that's got my attention. It's very similar to this FLY that we talked about yesterday. I like the look of the sort of the pinball we had, that pin bar candle, and then we really rebounded strong up to the recent highs. So FLY, DJT, I'm looking for a little bit more sideways here to to get a position in these. But if DJT opens at 14 tomorrow, I'll have a position for sure. Absolutely will. FLY, I'm still looking for a little bit more sideways here between 27 and 22. But good looking charts, good themes that'll start to emerge, or maybe they won't. We just have to wait and see. But these are the themes we've got present right now that I can speak on with certainty that they're here and they're taking place. Last one here is UROY. This is Uranium Royalty Corp. It's energy. It's an exploration and production name, but it's a good-looking chart. I like the flag-looking pattern here that we put in. Nothing super exciting here about this name. Just a good-looking chart. I like the injection here in the last 3 days to put us above the 50 MA. I like that $4 level that we've tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Above that $4 level, we have lots of space in the chart up to $5. So it's a trade idea. It's probably a pretty slow mover. Looks like the daily range on this isn't super impressive. Maybe 20 cents. A 50-cent move on this name is a pretty impressive day. So it could be kind of a slow mover, but it looks to me like a good place to store some cash and target a dollar move, potentially a $1.50 move to the recent highs there on this name. Good looking chart. I like the shape here as we start to put in those higher lows. But that's all I got for you guys today. Manage those trades well. Like I said, our goal out here is to preserve capital, and that's why you always have to keep in mind what happens if it doesn't work out, right? That's a question you should always ask yourself when you're taking on a trade. And SNDK is a great example of that. There are people out there that just came into this thing and they didn't think about what could happen if they were wrong. They just thought about what could happen if it works, right? If it works and it drops from 280 down to 200 and they take an 80-point short trade and they make a ton of money. It should be easy, right? Because this stock's already up 600% on the year. Well, guess what happened? Those people today got wiped out, right? Because they didn't think about what can happen if they were wrong. So you always have to be mindful and know where your risk. You have to set your risk on the trade. You can call it your risk. You can call it what you're willing to lose, what you're willing to pay to see if the trade works out. Whatever clicks in your brain to admit when you're wrong, that's crucial in this game, and that's what's going to keep some people playing this game for years, and it's going to wipe some people out. So peace, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.